Good morning and welcome to the Public Service Commission of South Carolina. We are here today in a hearing in docket number 2023-98-G, which is a customer complaint involving Dominion Energy South Carolina. Let's take a roll call of commissioners. With us virtually, we have Commissioner Irvin. Present in the hearing room, we have Commissioner Justin Williams, Commissioner Caston, Vice Chair Powers, Commissioner Carol Lee Williams, Chair Belser, and I note that Commissioner Thomas is on leave this week. I'll recognize our staff counsel, Mr. Winburn, to read the docket.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. This is the proceeding in docket number 2023-98-G. Mamie W. Cowser, Complainant, Petitioner versus Dominion Energy, South Carolina, Inc., Defendant, Respondent. This hearing was scheduled for today, 10 a.m. on Tuesday, May 16th, 2023. All parties are present and prepared to move forward with the hearing. Madam Chair and other members of the Commission, the docket is in order.
Thank you, Mr. Winburn. I note that the complainant, Ms. Cowser, is present. Welcome, Ms. Cowser. Who's here for Dominion Energy, South Carolina? It's on.
Matt Gissendanner on behalf of Dominion Energy, South Carolina.
Thank you. And who's here representing the Office of Regulatory Staff?
Madam Chair, Vice Chair Powers, good morning. Nicole Given appearing on behalf of the South Carolina Office of Regulatory Staff.
Thank you. Are there any preliminary matters that need to come before the Commission before we begin? I don't believe there are. No preliminary matters. Ms. Cowser, welcome. You have filed this complaint this morning, and so we're going to hear from you first, okay? I'm going to ask the court reporter to swear you in as a witness. You can just raise your right hand. You can stay where you are. If you
Do you solemnly affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Now, Ms. Cowser, I understand that you're the complainant and you filed a complaint. Is that correct? Yes, ma'am. Press that.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Now, I want you to be as comfortable as possible. We are here to hear about your complaint. We're present here to hear about your complaint. So I need for you to, let's do this. Do you want the materials that you filed with the Commission to be part of the record today? That would be your complaint form and all those exhibits that you sent in?
Yes, and I have one additional exhibit.
Okay, look, we'll get to that in a second. We're going to admit Ms. Cowser's complaint form, and I think it's with the complaint form there were a total of 7 pages, and then one additional page regarding a statement about gas fireplace logs. Any objection to admitting those into evidence? So those 8 pages will be marked for identification as hearing exhibit number 1 and put into the evidence of this case. Now, what else? You can go ahead with what you want to tell us, or you can talk about this other exhibit you want to put in. Which way do you want to go?
Well, I'll go ahead and tell you what my complaint is about.
Okay. Miss, can you pull that microphone a little bit closer to you, and that way you don't have to lean forward? There you go. Just try to be comfortable.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. My name is Mamie Cowser, as has been said. I'm a 70-year-old female who lives alone. I have 2 children and 1 granddaughter who live in D.C. and Maryland. I live in a 2-story house with 2 thermostats. My home is supplied by electricity and gas. The gas bill in question is for the following: water heater, fireplace, which I never use, and heat. My question before the Commission is the increase in my gas bill from November of 22, which was $25.34, the gas portion of it. And the one that I received in February, which went from $25 to $184 23. I previously paid little attention to my bills. I usually just pay them when they come in. I hope you can hear me. But you know, I listened to some people complaining about how their energy bills had gone up, and I was questioning them about why. And one person told me that she wasn't even home and her bill went up, and another one said that.
Madam Chair,
Just a moment, Ms. Kauser. Mr. Gissendaner?
I object on hearsay grounds.
I understand.
To the testimony of other people.
Okay.
Please go ahead, Ms. Kauser.
I guess that's all I have to say. I filed a complaint, and I was advised that the weather affected this increase. So I called Richland County Library and got some information on weather statistics, which I submitted with my appeal. And I don't know if you want me to quote those websites, but I sent that in, for verification of, where they had referred me to get this information, since they didn't have it on hand in the library.
And that's the chart attached to your complaint, is that right?
That's that chart.
Okay, that's in the evidence. You've put that in evidence.
All right. I have no problems paying my bills. My parents taught me that my bills were always my priority and my wants secondary. So I know that gas went up, and I know that a lot of things increased, but my bill going from $25 to $184 was just troubling to me. Thank you.
Does that conclude your statement?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kauser. We're going to proceed to the part where people can ask questions of you. Just a minute. Mr. Gissendaner, any questions?
No questions, Ms. Kauser.
Okay. Ms. Given, any questions?
No, Madam Chair.
Commissioners, questions for the witness? Commissioner Carolee Williams?
Thank you. Ms. Kauser, thank you for being here. I know it's not an easy thing to do, and appreciate your interest in getting to truth, and that's our job as well. So I have some questions just to understand your circumstance a little better. When did you move into the home?
In 2008.
Okay. Is this a trend that you've seen in the past with the gas portion of your bill going up?
It probably is a trend, but I wasn't paying it. I pay my bills, so I wasn't. I should have maybe looked through to see what was happening in gas and electric, but I usually just paid my bills. And until I was told that it was something wrong with the bills, and now I start looking at mine, and that's how I came up with I went back through my bills and I looked and I said, well, this isn't a large increase. This is like a 700% increase from over a 5-month period. And I said it was troubling. So I was just trying to find out what happened.
Right. Did you happen to look at what you filed this in March? Did you happen to look at what your bills look like in March or April or May, if you've already got one, to see if how things changed since you've made this filing?
You mean this year?
I'm thinking this year. I'm just wondering what your bills look like following what we have, and we have through February. I think we have through February. And
I don't have that information.
Okay. How was your experience with the home energy checkup? Were there solutions mentioned there that might be helpful?
Well, I think Dominion, they sent out a very nice young lady, and she went through the house with me, and she pointed out one thing that I needed to do was to do some spackling around one of my bedroom windows. And she was very nice and helpful, and you know, I appreciate that. But you know that I just can't understand this increase.
Okay. I know one of the things they told me to do years ago was to put insulation up my my chimney so that there was less draftiness in the winter time, and then of course remove it before you use your chimney. But there are
Well,
lots of things people can tell you. But you're saying they told you one thing.
I can tell you, I can put my hand on this Bible which I brought, and tell you that I do not use that fireplace.
Okay.
I don't want to be bothered with the gas, you know.
Right. Right.
And it hasn't been cold enough really to be using a fireplace, you know. So I just use my regular heat.
Okay. My last question may be for Chair Belser, but it may be for Ms. Kauser. You mentioned wood, the gas, there was an exhibit in the 7 pages related to gas for fireplaces. Oh, okay. I misunderstood.
Ms. Kauser, one of her exhibits was a chart that she prepared with the average temperatures. Is that correct, Ms. Kauser?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I misunderstood. I've got that. I just wanted to make sure I had all of your materials. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Justin Williams.
Good morning, Ms. Kauser.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here today. As I look at you, excuse me, you remind me of my grandmother. She turned 89 today. And she, I don't know where she got it from, but she always believed in being a participant in government at the local level, statewide, and national level. And considering the number of customers Dominion has and the number of hearings we have like this, you are exceptional for your willingness to come and try to figure out what's going on with your bill. So I want to commend you for that. I want to start from the beginning and just walk through how you got before us so I can get a good understanding of how we got here, okay? So if I recall correctly, I think you said in November of 2022, your bill was approximately $25. Is that correct?
It was $25.34.
$25.34. Okay. And you have a chart there with the weather. Did you reference that?
What I did was I looked at the temperatures from November, which was like the average temperature that I was able to get offline was 64 degrees during the day and 54 at night in November of 2022. But then in February, when my bill went to 184.23, the temperature was like 65 during the day and 52 at night, which was not a significant difference between the November degrees. It was 64 days in November, 65 degrees, and the average temperature in February when this 184 bill came out. And I submitted that earlier, but I have it here, you know.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll be able to take a look at it as we review your file here. So November was $25 approximately. Do you remember what the bill was in December?
I think I recorded all of that. December, I just have the temperature down here for December. I don't have what the gas bill was.
Understood. What about January? Do you have your bill for January?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? That's okay. So when you got the $184 bill in February, what was your first step?
I think I wrote. I think I called. I think I filed my complaint with the Public Service Commission.
Okay. And what happened next?
An investigator investigated the case and gave me a response saying that it was normal based on prior billing that they went through, which I didn't feel had anything to do with this period in time that I was questioning.
Okay.
And so I told him that I was just going to go ahead and appeal it, his decision.
Okay. Do you know if you're on any type of budget billing or?
I'm not.
No. Okay. Other than speaking with that investigator, did you speak with anyone else about the $184 bill?
In terms of whom?
Dominion.
No, I can't talk about what somebody said. So the reason why I didn't is hearsay.
Commissioner, you want to clarify that with her? Ms. Cowser, thank you. Did you talk to Dominion about your bill?
No, I didn't. But when I sent in the bill, when I paid the bill, I sent a note. I don't know if they ever got it.
Okay. All right. If you talked to somebody with Dominion and they told you something, you can tell us about that. But you can't tell us what your neighbors said, okay?
I understand.
Okay. I'm sorry, Commissioner. Please go ahead.
That's fine, Madam Chair. Any particular reason why you did not talk with Dominion about it?
That would be hearsay. I mean, I from talking to people, they told me it was no point in doing it. So
I got you. I'm not trying to trip you up. I'm just curious as to your answer.
I'm just telling you the truth.
I got you. I got you.
Ms. Cowser, let me just tell you this. You answer the questions as best you can. If he doesn't think it's an appropriate legal or, if it violates the rules of evidence, he can object. But you go ahead and you do the best you can.
All right. Thank you.
Right.
Well, it was from conversations, and I got the impression that it would be to no avail to contact Dominion.
Understood. Did they reach out to you at all once the complaint was filed?
No.
When did that energy survey occur?
I can't answer that question, but it was after I filed a complaint, after I appealed. I'll say it was after the complaint was first filed, and the report came back from the investigator that it was nothing abnormal about the bill. I called in, and he recommended that I get an energy check. So I called Dominion and asked to send out somebody to do that.
Okay.
Because I was really trying to find out what the problem was.
So I am too, because I'm genuinely curious and concerned, and I'm struggling here to try to figure out what happened. So I'm going to try to keep asking you questions, and maybe we can figure it out together. Have you ever had a bill before the one in February for $184, approximately?
For the gas portion of the bill, I don't recall.
You don't recall? Okay. If you don't mind me asking, how warm, what's the temperature of your house during January, February, March time frame on the thermostat?
Well, the one upstairs I had turned off, and then I had a new unit put in, and the technician said that I should leave it on 68 upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
It's on two different thermostats.
Okay.
And because I had turned it off altogether, but he said it would be better to keep some heat up there.
Okay.
And the one downstairs is at 72.
Okay. And so all your heat is generated by gas?
No, it's gas and electric. I have a gas pack for one part of the house and electric bill. My house is mostly electric,
The house is mostly electric.
but I have I think they call it a heat pump.
Okay. All right. And which part of the house is that warm?
I think the heat pump is up in the attic.
It's in the attic.
I think. I'm not sure about that.
Okay. If you don't mind me asking, how large is your home?
It's about 2,600 feet.
Okay. Okay. Do you recall after, say, starting April, and I think Commissioner Williams may have already asked this question. If she did, just tell me and I'll move on. Do you remember your gas bill for April of this year? And if you don't, that's fine.
I started to bring those bills, but I can't remember.
You can't remember. Okay. Did you try to do anything other than outside of what the energy audit may have instructed you to do? Did you consider changing your thermostat or doing anything different with how you heat your home after you received the $184 bill?
No, because basically it hasn't been on. It's been the weather's been pretty mild, so I haven't. The heat may have come on a couple of times, but
Right.
for the most part, it's not even running right now.
Right. I understand. Okay. I'm running out of questions here. And we still don't know why the bill was so high. Did you have
The young lady that came out and did the energy checkup was telling me about the gas prices went up, and I said 700%, and then and she said something about well, she told me about the gas price increases and something else that I can't recall right this minute, which affected the bill. But maybe they can explain. I don't know.
So, all transparency, the Public Service Commission, the people you're looking at on this dais, did approve a rate increase. I believe it was in December. I think may have been November, but whenever it was, I don't think it would take a $25 bill up to $184. I would be shocked if that alone caused that increase. Can you think of anything else?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't know if there's something wrong with the meters or if they were misread or what happened. I mean, I figure something happened, but I just don't know what to say.
They didn't, with the energy audit, Dominion didn't do a meter test, did they? Or did they?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
If they did, they didn't tell me.
Okay. Did you reach back out to your HVAC technician to have a discussion with them regarding the increase, just to see if maybe there were some mechanical errors or something wrong with the equipment maybe?
I did call them because I wanted to verify what part of my house was being heated by what, because I don't know. I know they took that heat pump, I guess, or whatever it is, they took upstairs and put in the attic. I don't know what that was controlling, but he did explain to me that I had the two different units. Mm-hmm. One was run off electricity and one is run off of gas.
Right. Okay. And you said you live by yourself, right?
I do, and since I saw something online about Dominion saying that I couldn't prove, that I needed to prove that, I went and asked my neighbors. This is the second document that I wanted to submit. They signed off that, they knew that I was living alone.
I understand. Well, I believe you. Anyone that, you already said you put your hand on the Bible. I believe you. I'm gonna stop asking you questions right now because I'm all out of questions at this point, and hopefully some of my colleagues can ask you some questions to help us try to figure out this dramatic increase in your gas bill. Thank you for indulging me.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Powers?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Ms. Cowser.
Good morning.
Your water heater, from what I read, it's gas as well.
Yes.
Is it one I've got one on a new house and it's a tankless water heater. Is yours tankless or is it in the house?
No, no, sir. The gas, I mean, the water heater is inside a little shed-like thing that was built onto the house. It's like a little closet-like space. Yeah.
When they came out and did the inspection, did they check the temperature on your gas water heater to see if maybe it could be turned down or changed in any way?
Well, the young lady she didn't check that, but she turned on the water and she said, the hot water, and she said that it was at a good setting. So that's all I can say about that. She didn't actually look at she asked me where it was, and I told her it was in that little house in the back. And then that was the end of that.
Okay. I don't know how she could tell that without looking at it, but when we started, you said you may have one more thing you wanted to submit. Is there something else you wanted us to look at?
No, I just I was trying to prove that I live alone. That was the other document that I wanted to submit to.
We'll take your word for it. Okay. And you don't know about your bills last year, whether it was anything similar or higher?
I have all of them because it's a habit. I just filed them. I don't know why.
Okay. I noticed one thing in your chart, that there was several days in February that went down into 20s, and there really weren't any like that in November. Did you notice that on the chart?
I do know that we had a cold spell, this year, I think it was, for a few days.
And that should make some difference, but
I would imagine.
But not the difference you
Not the
think here.
difference that I saw.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Caston?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And good morning, Ms. Cowser.
Good morning.
I was looking through the information you provided, trying to come up with those numbers and looking at, I guess, the information from Dominion of what the therm usage was. And if you're like most people, you don't have a clue what that is or what that means.
I certainly do not.
And that's quite all right. It's not your job to necessarily know what that is. That's not your fault or your job. It's the way they measure what goes through your meter, a quantity that goes through the gas meter. And a therm is it's 100 cubic feet of gas that goes through a gas meter. That's just kind of a block they measure it in. It doesn't mean anything to most people, but I'm just using that as a number that's where they come up with these therms. They do it based on 100 cubic feet. Every 100 cubic feet of gas used is one therm. So as I was looking at the information they had and trying to look at what you submitted relative to those time periods, at least from Dominion's information that they provided, say going back to August, comparing August 2021 through February 2022 with August 2022 through February 2023, if you look at the difference in that time period of the therms used over that course of year, in the 2022 to 2023 period, they say use 14 more therms than the previous year. It just simply means use more gas. But if you look at the August month, a year apart, in other words, yes, ma'am, August of 2021, you used 7 therms or 700 cubic feet of gas. And in August 2022, you actually used 100 cubic feet less. You used 600 cubic feet of gas, or 6 therms, according to their information.
Commissioner Cast.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Cowser, if you, the testimony of the Dominion witness that was given to you earlier, where he's looking, if you want to follow along on the chart.
I'll just listen because
Okay.
I don't understand.
Okay.
And I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That's all right. I mean, I just don't understand these terms and how do you do this?
It's the amount of gas that is used that month.
I understand that.
But there
part,
are charts in that testimony if you want to follow along. It's one of them's on page 3 and one of them's on page 8. But you can just
Yes.
listen if you like. I just wanted you to see where he's referring to.
And I apologize for not pointing that out to you because it is confusing and it's not your fault at all. It's complex. Do you see they call it a Table 1 Cowser monthly gas bill, August 2022 through February 2022, and Table 2.
I'm looking at Table 1.
Okay.
Table 1, what you're looking at, Ms. Cowser, is on page 3. That's Table 1. Yeah. And in Ms. Hux's testimony, the other is Table 4 on page 8.
Correct. Confusing enough, Ms. Cowser, and then I have to confuse you even more. And
That's not hard to do at my age.
Well, for me either, Ms. Cowser, and that's my fault.
I see that I see where, they have gone back through August of 22. My question is not involving all that. It's just this November to February charges that increased period that I was questioning. I don't recall all this, usage back before that.
So not so much the year before, but the difference between this past November
and up to this time that I filed a complaint.
Okay.
That's what I was questioning. I mean, I guess they are showing a precedent or something, but I'm not aware of all of that.
Okay, I understand. Well, I was interested in just seeing, is there anything that looks odd or jumped out at least from this information? And I guess the difference in November's, which is not what you were looking at, but looking at the difference in November's from November a year ago versus this past November, you actually used 500 cubic feet of gas less than you did the previous year. And in December, about 13 more, I think, 13 more than the previous year. But that was something I was interested in to see, was there anything that looked like, man, it just jumped up like you used just 3 times as much gas as before. And it appears at least the difference in the January and February from the previous year and this year is probably just when they read the meter, because it comes out about the same. I say all that for this reason. It looks like, as far as the gas usage, not an appreciable difference in gas usage. It appears to me to be perhaps the difference in the, I guess, new rate that they have. That, I guess, charging more for gas since November. It doesn't look like you're using necessarily more gas. You're just being charged more for what you're using because of the increase in the gas price. Does that make sense?
I understand that, and it does make sense to me, but that much of a jump in gas prices? I mean, I know gas went up, but when I calculated the percentage of that, my November bill to February, that's like a 700% increase. I mean, if you go by percentages, I mean, what goes up that high?
Were you a math teacher by any chance?
Beg your pardon?
Were you a math teacher by any chance? Because you're pretty clever.
That was my worst subject.
Well, I'm surprised. It certainly doesn't seem that way. As I think about that and look at the information in the bill in particular, and the bills can be confusing as all get out, because it shows you have a gas pack. And what that means is during the summer, you actually have an air conditioning unit.
Yes.
That cools the house, and during the winter, gas heats it. So it doesn't use a heat pump. It uses the natural gas to heat your house. But when I look at the bill and kind of ran through some of the numbers, and it can be confusing, they have a base facilities charge. That's just a base charge whether you use any gas, whether it's zero gas, any gas, of $10.90. That's just for the ability to have the lines to get it to you. Their base rate, it says the first 8 therms, that means the first 800 cubic feet of gas you use, they charge you $1. I've never seen a penny this small, but it goes down to 0.651180 cent. Mm-hmm. But roughly $1.65 for each therm of the first 8 therms. So it'd be like 8 times $1.65 plus that $10.90. And the next 80 therms is that $1.65 and that 118 plus about 14 cents. So it's 165 plus about 14 cents for everything above that 8 therms. And when I looked at your January or February bill, or the February usage, at least Dominion says went through the meter, I think it was 87 therms, and kind of did those rough calculations. It came up to about, and I probably didn't do the math right, but it was about 165, 166 or something like that, which I think is close to what you have. So I guess so far it looks to me that the math's right according to the bill, but it's just simply it's more than it was last year. The rate that they're charging is higher than it was last year. And it wasn't 700%, but it's more.
Well, I understand that.
Well, I really think, and you don't hesitate not only to, talking to your neighbors is good, I do it too. But every now and then, I like to talk to, I like to ask the question of who's sending it to me. Like I got a bill the other day from someone and I didn't understand it at all. I thought they overcharged me. And I called them and worked it out, and turns out they did not overcharge me. I just misunderstood something. Now, I have had those instances where I've followed up on a bill and found out that they did make an error. You know, we didn't understand. So I would encourage you to continue, whether it's Dominion or whom. You don't hesitate to contact the folks that you have a question about a bill. And if it's involving any utility you have, you feel free to contact ORS and that utility and say, help me understand this, or help me figure out a way to reduce this charge. Because I agree, that's a lot of money. And I wish it was not so. I hope I've not confused you more. Well, that speaks volumes. I apologize for that.
I can take the field.
I apologize for that. I was trying to understand it myself, and I can see I didn't help you much at all. But that's my fault, not yours.
Oh,
Thank you, Ms.
thank you,
Cowser.
sir.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Carol Lee Williams?
Thank you. Mrs. Cowser, you're hearing from the other Commissioner Williams again. Math was not my favorite subject, but where I did like math was in graphs. So I'm wondering if you have in front of you the exhibits that Dominion Energy provided in their testimony. It's a copy of your bill, and it starts with the September 13th, 2022 bill. But it's a black and white version of a Dominion bill.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Williams, would it be, I don't know if council would be offended if we put that on the Elmo or something, maybe. I don't know if she has it or not.
Let's be careful about what we put on the Elmo to make sure there's, is this we need to make sure it's a redacted version. Okay, that we can put on there. Redacted for like account numbers and other sensitive information. Ms. Cowser, what he's asked to do is to be able to put the bill so that we can see it on the screens here and up there. Okay? And then that way we know we're all looking at the same sheet of paper.
Oh, okay.
And I'll probably change the page. That's good. That's good. Mm-hmm. Ms. Cowser, what you see is a Dominion Energy South Carolina bill that, if I slide it, do you see your name at the very top in tiny print?
No, I can't see that.
Okay. They're going to try to help us. They're going to make it bigger.
That's worse.
It's right there. Mamie W. Cowser is what I read.
All right.
Above
that blacked out portion.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Exactly.
I
And
see
that's
that.
blacked out because we don't want to identify your address to anyone.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay.
So on the same page where we see your name, and the reason I mentioned graph is that here it says gas usage history, and there's a graph below it. And on the left-hand side is an A, and I'm going to guess that's for August because the next letter is S for September, O for October, and then we get into the period that you've been asking about and questioning. And you see N for November, D for December. Am I making sense?
Yes, I see that.
Okay. We got January, we have February, which is really a really tall line. And then the line gets lower in March. And it's my understanding from looking at your bill that these are the therms that Commissioner Cassidy was just talking to you about. It's how Dominion measures your gas usage. And I'm struggling to come up with a question, but because what we can see is this is from 2022, and then we've got through March of 2023 in these exhibits. But does that reflect what you see in your bills where your gas usage is low in the months of August and September and March? Oh, April, May, June, July, and August. Does that reflect that you have lower gas bills in the summer
I do
and the
have
spring?
I know that.
Okay. This is helpful to me to see that the dramatic increase is during the time when it's colder and when your gas pack is in use. I wish that we could compare this past year to a previous year, but at this point, I don't think we can see that. To see if your usage in a previous year was very similar.
Well, I was under the impression that it was the temperature that was controlling this.
Mm-hmm.
So if the temperature hasn't changed that much, how is this increase going up and up like that?
Right. And that's where it would be helpful to see what the costs were last year in the same time frame.
Commissioner Williams, if you wouldn't mind me
I would love
jumping in,
Please do.
helping out, Miss Cowher, would you be? Am I saying your last name right?
Cowser.
Cowser. I'm sorry, Miss Cowser. Would you be surprised to know that we're going to look at your? I'm referencing the testimony filed by Dominion witness. Let me get her name. Sydney. What is her first? Hux. So she works for the utility, and she filed testimony. Now I didn't bring this up with you when I talked to you initially because I wanted to get your lived experience based on what you remember before getting into what the utility filed. But I want to ask you some questions about what the utility filed when they were confronted with your complaint. Would you be surprised to know that the bill you received for 2534, during that billing period, there were no days where the temperature was less than 20 degrees? So that would be from September 16th through October 16th. I don't think that's too surprising for South Carolina weather. Would you agree with that?
That's 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. And would you also be surprised to know that there were no days where the temperature was less than 30 degrees in that billing period? Temperature did not reach 30 degrees or below in that September 16th through October 17th billing period.
Of 22.
Yes, ma'am, of last year. No days. And going even further, there were only 5 days where the temperature was in the 40s. And then there were 16 days where the temperature was in the 50s and 10 days where the temperature was 60 degrees or higher. That wouldn't surprise you, would it?
No.
Okay. And the result of that temperature, based on what you were charged for gas and how much gas you used at the time, was $25.34. And then we get to this dramatic increase And that dramatic increase, the billing cycle, was for December 17th, 2022 through January 16th, 2022. I know you received a bill in February, but it wouldn't surprise you that the actual charges were for December through January. That wouldn't be surprising to you, would it?
I was billed from December of 22 to January of 23.
And you received the bill in February.
Okay.
That's not that's not surprising to you, is it?
Well, I don't know. I'm not really.
Okay. So here's where there's going to be a stark difference here. So whereas there were no days in the September to October billing period that were in the 20s, there were 4 days in the December to January billing period where the temperature was in the 20s, 20 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, so let's think through that for a second, if you don't mind going through that. If I remember correctly, you said you keep your downstairs at 72 degrees?
Yes.
Okay. So you're going to have to burn some gas to keep your house at 72 degrees when the weather outside is 20 degrees. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. So then going to the number of days in 30 degrees, there were 6 days that were 30 degrees from December 17th through January 16th, according to the company's witness. And then there were 10 days where they were in the 40s, and then 7 days where they were in the 50s and 3 in the 60s. But significant here, there were 20 days, the majority of the month, the temperature was 40 degrees or below. And this is where we get your $184.23 bill. Now, it's still concerning to me, but based on going through that analysis with you, based on going through that analysis or going through that testimony and going through the temperature that you keep your home, a comfortable temperature, it doesn't sound like you disagree that it's possible that you maybe burn more gas December through January than you burned September through October. That's not surprising, is it?
No.
No. And then on top of that, just being full transparency, we approved some rate increases. So that increased the bill as well from last year, from 2021. So this difference that you saw in 2021 as compared to, or the difference you saw in 2022 as compared to 2021 came from the increase in the price of natural gas that was passed through to the utility, passed through by us to you, which resulted in an increase. Now, I'm still concerned. Let me tell you why I'm concerned. I'm concerned because, in my opinion, that's a significant amount of rate shock or sticker shock, if you will. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Honestly, I really don't. I'm sort of speechless, even though I'm asking so many questions and talking so much. Just digesting this, I don't maintaining a certain budget, depending on what your job is, and I don't know if you're working or not.
I'm retired.
You're retired. So if I'm maintaining my budget, it's concerning to me that I'm tracking 3 months of bills under $30. Then it goes to 60, and then I'm hit with 167, 184, 163. That's very concerning. Now, I don't know what we can do about that in the future, but I'm wondering whether or not there is something that could be done, because I'm not sure if I understood you correctly or if I misheard Commissioner Caston, because it sounds like your heat pack or heat pump, as you describe it, heats your entire house, but I thought I heard you say that it only heats a certain portion of the house.
Well, that's what the installer told me, that one part of the house was, because I have two thermostats. One of them run off the gas pack and one is off electricity. That's what was explained to me, but I have no idea.
I understand. And so that may be something worth investigating. Again, I don't know. I question whether or not, based on the evidence I see, I question whether or not there's anything that the commission can do about what happened in your February bill for the December through January billing cycle. Obviously haven't made any decisions, but just based on what I'm seeing and hearing, I'm questioning. But I don't want you to leave here with no hope. If your entire home is being heated by natural gas, then that may be something to know. Or if you can investigate or figure that piece out. Maybe Dominion may be able to help you out with that. I don't know. But I believe knowledge is power. And for your, you're not from South Carolina. Right? You're not from here, right?
Yes, I am.
Oh, you are from here. I thought you came from D.C.
Johnston.
Oh, Johnston. Oh.
I was born in Johnston.
You was born in Johnston. Well, welcome back home. I want your experience in South Carolina to be pleasant. I don't want you to pack your bags and go back to D.C. because these bills are running you off. So I hope that maybe there's someone you can reach out to, maybe at Dominion or ORS, to maybe investigate, okay, what is actually heating my home? And is there anything I can do to make my home more efficient or potentially adjust my usage so I won't be hit with such a large bill? Because I agree with you. $25.35 to $184.23 is a punch in the face, regardless of why. It is what it is. And I hate that happened, but it seems like, based on the weather and based on your usage and based on the tariff, it seems like the explanation is there. That's the way it seems at this point.
Well, I just wish when you all give these rate increases that you all would consider we get like 3% increase in our retirement or less than that, and these bills keep going up. It seems to me there should be some proportion as to what we are being charged with the amount of money that we have coming in. I know you don't approve rates for Social Security or whatever, but it's hard on people, to keep up with these kind of rates, and yes, your income is not going up nowhere near that high,
I don't disagree with anything that you're saying, and I will say, not that this helps you, but just for your general knowledge, when we get a rate increase, usually a part of that package is these averages. For the average rate payer, the increase is going to look like this or look like that. We never see, at least I don't remember ever seeing anything like this. So what I need to commit to do the next time we have a rate increase hearing for gas or any other rate increase hearing, I need to better understand the impact on bills, because I'm looking at this and it still is shocking to me to see that you had to experience this. So I accept your suggestion. Madam Chair, I don't have any more questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Commissioner Carol Lee Williams, you through? Okay. Any further questions?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Irvin.
Thank you. Thank you for coming today and explaining your situation. There is something that can be done, and I tried to encourage the majority of the commissioners to do it, and that was to require Dominion and other investor-owned utilities to use a hedging program when we hedge natural gas prices. We can avoid the spikes like we had year over year when natural gas went up more than 100% in 1 year, one calendar year. And they chose not to go with my suggestion. And as a result, people like you are getting these unexplainably high bills, and you'll continue to get them until either Dominion or Commission's convinced that something needs to be done. And there's no guarantee that natural gas prices won't spike again. They're down right now. But like any commodity, they fluctuate in price, and circumstances beyond our control influence the price of commodities. So, you know, you're just one of close to 1 million households that are facing this same problem. And have you received your May bill yet? May of this year?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Well, don't be surprised if it goes up even more, because these increases are going to be included, as I understand it, in the May 2023 bill, and they'll continue to increase until we come up with a long-term solution. But it is shocking. It is shocking that someone's bill can go up from, what'd you say it was, $25 before?
25, 23 to
And
184
now it's 184.
over about a 5-month period of time, you know.
It's now 184, $184.
184.23, yes.
That's pretty shocking, isn't it? And that's why I said in my dissenting opinion when this rate increase was filed that it does create sticker shock or rate shock for people like you that are on fixed incomes. You don't have any other income than Social Security, I bet, right?
No, I have a civil service. I worked for the federal government for a number of years.
Okay. But you're still on that. You get the same check every month, I guess.
That's right. That's right.
So you don't have any outside income. You don't have portfolio stocks and bonds to draw on. You can't sell property, and you don't have an investment portfolio, I assume. So you're left with your civil service, Social Security benefits to get by. Is that right?
Well, I have a little mobile home down in Johnston that my mother lived in, and I have it rented out. So I'm not complaining about paying my bills. It's just that I want to be treated fairly, you know.
That's right. And that's what everybody wants. They want to be treated fairly. And I think that it's unfair and unconscionable to have a bill go from $25 a month to $184 a month. That shocks the conscience. I don't know what we can do about it now, but probably nothing for the short term. But I hope we can find a long-term solution, because it's really unfair. There are people out there that don't have a civil service pension like you do. And there are people out there that don't have rental property like you do, and they're suffering even more than you are, wouldn't you think?
I know they are. They are complaining to me all the time, and you know,
Right.
especially retirees, you know.
Exactly. So there's no amount of explaining that can explain why a bill would go up from $25 a month to $184 a month. Did Dominion offer any kind of assistance in terms of helping you with weather stripping or additional insulation or anything like that?
My house is well insulated, and I don't think I need any of that. I mean, that's, you know, the young lady that came out that did the energy review. Yeah, she told me I had good, you know, what's that stuff you put in the walls? Insulation. Yeah.
Good. Well, it sounds like you've done about everything you can. You know, it's unfortunate. I guess, you know, you could probably, do you have a downstairs bedroom that you could sleep in? And
That's where I am all the time. in the
Right,
period,
you've
most
already
of,
done
well, most of, yeah.
Yeah, so when you do that, do you cut the heat off in the second floor?
Well, they told me not to cut it off. I don't know if you all can help me or somebody can help me with that. Because I could just turn that thermostat off upstairs. But somebody
I think you
said I
probably need to
needed
cut it
it.
down. Yeah, you need to cut
I
it
did
down.
do that. It's down to 68.
Yeah, you may want to try cutting it off because, you know, that's a real problem that you've got. Now, have you tried to put insulation around your hot water heater?
I asked the young lady that came out and did the energy check whether or not that was advisable, and she said not on the gas,
Okay.
because of the lighter underneath it.
Right. He's afraid it might catch on fire, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, sounds like you've done all you can, and I'm sorry you're in this situation, but not that it's any consolation, but there are close to 1 million other households out there that are in a similar situation. I'm sorry you find yourself in this position, and thank you for coming to share your story.
Thank you,
No further
sir.
questions.
I appreciate it.
Any further questions? Ms. Cowser, do you have anything else you want to offer at this point?
No.
Thank you very much. We're going to now go to the company for their testimony. Mr. Gissendanner?
Madam Chair, before we go to our testimony, I would move for a directed verdict in the company's favor. There's been no evidence produced that the
You need to talk up a little bit.
I would move for a directed verdict in the company's favor. There's been no evidence that the bills were incorrectly calculated or charged the wrong rate, and there's been no evidence produced to suggest that the usage was incorrectly metered.
Thank you, Mr. Gissendanner. I'm going to deny that motion at this time.
All right. The company calls Cindy Hucks to the stand.
Is there a microphone down here?
You want to sit right there?
That'll be fine.
Ms. Hucks, if you would raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Okay, there he is.
Ms. Hucks, I'm going to ask you to pull that microphone as close as you can, please, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Hucks, please state your name for the record.
Cindy Hucks.
And by whom are you employed and in what capacity?
I am employed with Dominion Energy of South Carolina as a supervisor for customer relations and policy.
And Mrs. Hucks, have you prepared or caused to be prepared under your supervision amended direct testimony of 12 pages that was filed with this commission in this docket on May 10th?
Yes.
And do you have any changes or additions to your amended direct testimony?
I do not.
So if I ask you the same questions here today, would your answers be the same?
Yes.
Madam Chair, at this time, I would move into the record the pre-filed amended direct testimony of Cindy Hucks as if given orally from the stand.
Mrs. Hucks's amended direct testimony pre-filed on, I believe, May 10th will be received into the record as if given orally from the stand. And hold on just a second. Ms. Cowser, just for clarification, this is the testimony and exhibits that were given to you before we started the hearing, okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And Ms. Hucks, did you also prepare or cause to be prepared under your supervision 3 exhibits labeled as exhibit numbers CGH1 through CGH3 that were attached to your pre-filed direct testimony in this docket?
Yes.
And do you have any changes or additions to your pre-filed exhibits?
I do not.
Madam Chair, at this time, I would move into the record as the next hearing composite exhibit, Mrs. Hucks' 3 exhibits labeled as exhibit number CGH1, CGH2, and CGH3.
Mrs. Hux's pre-filed exhibits CGH1 through CGH3 will be a composite exhibit marked for identification as hearing exhibit number 2 and received into evidence of the case.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mrs. Hux, have you prepared a summary of your direct testimony?
I have,
Would you please share that with the commission at this time?
certainly. Good morning, Chair Belzer and members of the commission. In my testimony, I respond to the complaint of Ms. Mamie Cowser, which was filed with the commission on or about March 17, 2023, and in which she complains about increases in charges for natural gas service to her residents between September 2022 and February 2023. Company records indicate that Mrs. Cowser's residence has a gas water heater, a gas pack heating system, and a gas log fireplace. Ms. Cowser advised the company of these appliances when she applied for service from the company in November 2007. In her complaint, Ms. Cowser acknowledges that she has a gas log fireplace, and Dominion Energy South Carolina confirmed that Mrs. Cowser has a gas pack heating system and a gas water heater at her home during a recent home energy checkup on March 14, 2023. My review of Ms. Cowser's bills dated August 19, 2022 through February 17, 2023 revealed that there is nothing abnormal about her usage, which reflects the expected weather-related effect on gas usage for customers who rely on natural gas for hot water heating and for home heating needs during the colder winter months. As temperatures get colder, these customers use more gas to heat their water and their homes. Company weather records show that the Columbia area experienced lower daily low temperatures and lower daily high temperatures in the winter months when Ms. Cowser experienced bills of more than $150 than were experienced during the late summer and early fall months when her bills were less than $30. These records further confirm that Mrs. Cowser's usage was consistent with the temperatures experienced during the applicable billing periods and the expected weather-related effect on gas usage for customers who rely on natural gas for hot water heating and for home heating during the colder winter months. Mrs. Cowser's bills dated August 23, 2021 through February 17, 2022 also confirmed that her current usage history, as shown in her bills dated August 19, 2022 through February 17, 2023, is consistent with her usage history 1 year prior, which showed a similar weather-related effect. Mrs. Cowser is a Rate 32S residential standard service customer. Mrs. Cowser's bills are being properly calculated using the commission-approved rates for Rate 32S accounts, which the Office of Regulatory Staff confirmed by letter to Mrs. Cowser dated March 8, 2023. In its letter, the Office of Regulatory Staff confirmed to Mrs. Cowser that its investigation found no indication of abnormal usage and that, based on historically monthly winter data and the corresponding monthly gas usage, Mrs. Cowser's usage appears to be consistent with corresponding temperatures and is a result of weather-related effect on gas usage. In short, there has been no billing error on Mrs. Cowser's account. This concludes the summary of our direct testimony.
Thank you, Ms. Hux. Please respond to any questions that Mrs. Cowser, ORS, or the commissioners may have.
Thank you, Mr. Gissendanner. Ms. Cowser, do you want to ask the witness any questions?
I have no questions.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I do not have.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I misunderstood. Thank you, ma'am.
Mm.
Ms. Given, ORS?
Thank you, Madam Chair. ORS has no questions for this witness.
Thank you. Commissioners, Commissioner Carolee Williams?
Thank you. Ms. Hux, good to see you here today. Thank you for your testimony. Can you talk some about the company's portal website that all customers have access to and the kind of information that would be there with regard to her bill?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Once you access the system using your personal information, you're able to pull all of your bills, historical bills. You're able to see the chart like you showed on the bill. That is actually goes in a little more detail on the web, and also will provide you energy saving tips, recommendations for thermostat settings, and that type of thing.
Would Mrs. Cowser be able to see a bill for example, February of 2023, February of 2021? How far back could she go to look at what the cost was in a similar time frame?
I'm not certain, but I think you can go back 5 years on it.
Okay. Okay. And can you speak to the accuracy of the meter?
In terms of its current function?
Right. Are you confident of the meter's accuracy? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, I'm confident. I mean, we take the time to investigate cases like this where, you know, we look at historical data, we look at the appliances they have, you know, we talk with the customer, we do our home energy checkups, and to be able to determine, does that look like a normal usage, and is it consistent with previous years?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. No further questions.
Commissioner Justin Williams.
Still morning. Good morning, Ms. Huck. So I want to start just at a high level with what I'm thinking. How can your customers prevent those extremely high bills during cold weather that Ms. Kauser experienced?
Well, taking advantage of the information that the company provides for energy saving tips, and I know I just brought that up about the thermostat setting, but you know, the recommendation is 68, and she indicated that she keeps it at 72, and our home energy checkup report said 73. Well, 73 is 36% more that you're paying for in gas, or should you keep it on that setting? So, I mean, just off the, in looking at that, I mean, she could have possibly saved up to 36% had it been left on what the recommended temperature, which is 68 degrees.
So I'm just thinking out loud, and I want you just to work with me here to try to solve this problem, because Ms. Kauser brings up a good point, and I think Commissioner Irvin brought it up as well. She is in a position where she can pay her bill according to her testimony, but we know that there are others who are not in a similar situation. I'm wondering whether or not the company has the ability, let's say when we grant a requested rate increase, whether or not the company has the ability to send someone like Ms. Kauser, say, hey, we want you to be on notice based on the commission approved increase. If you operate your system, if you use the same amount of energy this year, starting from this new increase as you used last year, your bill is going to go up X amount. Is that possible?
Well, not directly related to a rate increase, but the company does. We've got a couple programs that we offer customers to help offset peaks in your usage. We have a budget billing program. It looks at your average of your year's usage and the cost, and there's a little buffer built in there, and we divide that over 12 months so that you pay the same amount every month. But you know, our billing statements all contain, each month we have inserts, and you know, those inserts can include a number of, you know, opportunities for energy saving tips. We send emails, you know, we provide a lot of information to our customers.
I understand that. Thank you for sharing that. I'm not really talking about that, though. I'm talking about, let's think about someone, a customer, one of your customers. I'm one of your customers. A customer like me who wants to be empowered, who says, you know what, I don't mind roughing it a little bit. I can put a sweater on, some socks. I can cut that thermostat down. You say 36%, 68 degrees is 36% less than 73. I get that. But just some level of notice to give folks who are in a monopoly the ability to say, I'm cutting back. Last year, this is what my rate was, and this is how much I paid monthly. And I'm just using Ms. Kauser since she's here. If I were to put myself in her shoes, if the average customer was to put themselves in her shoes, and they had a way of knowing this is what my bill is for October, this is what my bill is for November, if I keep on the same pattern or use more, I could potentially have a $184 bill. Is it possible to give them that type of notice or create some type of tool? Because I know you guys have some type of, I think you go into electronic bills now, I believe, right?
Not 100%, no, sir.
Okay. But for the ones who go there, is there some way to provide that captured customer some choice in lowering their usage, giving them some advance notice about what staying on the same trajectory as 1 year or 1 month to the next could do based on increased rates or colder weather?
Our AMI meters will provide updated usage on a daily basis. That information is on the web for each customer that has an AMI meter that's been installed. You can set usage alerts that tells you, you can set a threshold and, we're going to send you a usage alert if you exceed that threshold.
Well, slow down for me. What is a usage alert? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Okay, so say I want to know if my bill exceeds $100, through as the month's going through. So at the point that it reaches $100, the company sends a usage alert to you and tells you you've reached that threshold. Your bill is close to $100. Whether it's the middle of the month, the beginning, or toward the end, it's going to let you know when you're getting close to whatever threshold that you set that at.
Now, is that something I have to sign up for?
You do, yes.
Okay, why is that?
Well, we would know what threshold you would want to see. I mean, some people $100, you
I may
want
want
to know.
to start at $25. I mean, $100. I mean, I'm just throwing some ideas out here to you because I feel like if someone like Ms. Kauser would have gotten a $25, $35, or whatever usage alert, that maybe it would have caused her to think about if there's something that she could do, or reach out to you all to see if there's something that you all could do to change practices so she wouldn't have that $184 bill.
Right. Yeah, so we sent out this information repeatedly to customers about the AMI meters and just, give them the opportunity to set alerts that, at whatever point they would like to have it set at. So that information has been distributed to our customers.
Okay. Do you know the adoption rate?
I do not, I'm sorry.
Okay. That's all the questions I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hawks, I have a question. The AMI meter, that's also on the gas side as well as the electric side?
It is, but it doesn't report on a daily basis like the electric.
But
yes, it does. It does report daily. I'm sorry.
The gas meter does?
Yes, it does.
And that would send out, you can sign up for alerts and a usage alert on the gas side?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen that on the gas side, but I've just been dealing mostly with electric.
Okay, when answering
it.
Commissioner Justin Williams' question, you were referencing the electric side, not the gas side.
Right.
Okay, I just want to be clear on that. Thank
There
you.
may be, I'm not sure. We could find that out.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chair Powers?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Hawks, just one question or one thought. These increases that we're all dealing with as far as particularly gas right now and the recent increase that the Commission gave, would it be fair to say that these increases affect those who can afford at least the most?
I really don't have an answer for that. I mean, I don't address customers. They come to us when they discuss their bills and that sort of thing. I mean, I really, to make a blanket statement, I don't think so.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Justin Williams?
Do you track the average monthly gas bill for your customers?
I'm not aware of that.
What about average usage?
I'm not aware of that either. It very likely could be, but I'm not aware of it.
Okay. Is it possible for that usage system that you talked about to be set that any time, because I know you have a lot of customers, so the more detailed any one application is, potentially maybe the more it costs. But just as a general rule, if usage for any one customer, say like Ms. Kauser, went over what the average is for your residential customers, could an alert be sent out then?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay. So not that it couldn't be, you just don't know.
Right, I don't know.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Commissioner Caston?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Kauser, good morning.
Good morning.
Are Ms. Kauser's usage and bills correctly calculated?
I'm Cindy Hucks.
I mean, Ms. Hucks, are Ms. Kauser's bills correctly, usage and bills correctly calculated?
Yes, they are.
And I probably, in retrospect, should have asked this of Ms. Kauser. That's on me. When we're talking about, I guess, the $25 bill, which is the November bill, which would be the billing period from October 17th to November 16th, 2022. Is that correct?
No, sir, that's not.
Okay. Is it, what is that billing?
It's the
cycle?
September 16th, 2022 to October 17th, 2022.
That's the billing cycle or the
Correct.
billing period?
Right.
That's the $25 bill?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
I guess I got that confused and lost it in all the,
Yes, sir, it's on table 3. It shows the billing period.
I was looking at table 1.
On page 6.
Okay. Okay.
It would be due in
Is this, if I
November.
look at the table 3, the high temperature ranges?
Yeah, but
is
it
that
still
the-
has the billing period on there. Yes,
Well,
sir.
Okay, but what I was looking at was the table 1 and table 4, and that's, that not only confused me, it's still confusing me, and that I see November 17th, 22, the billing date.
Right.
So the October 19th, 22 bill would be the November bill that went out, or the November 17th bill, which is October 17th through November 16th would be the November bill.
You're referring to the bill that was $25.34, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, that's the October statement, but the billing period is September 16th, 2022 to October 17th, 2022.
So for the $25.34 bill that she has listed for November 2022, that is for the period September, repeat that. What
Okay.
period is that?
All right, the 2534 is the October 19th billing date, and that covers the billing period of September the 16th, 2022 to October 17th, 2022. It's due in November, so that may be where the confusion's coming in.
You got me.
It's okay.
And it's not like I used to not do this for a living or anything. But,
It's okay.
so Ms. Kauser, you're not the only one that struggles with it at times. But that said, looking at that being the case, that $25 bill was based on 8 therms, correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And if I go through that bill, which I will not do, and I don't know which one I'm looking at here. This would have been probably before then, but the base charge was $10.90,
Basic facility charge, yes.
and the first 8 therms was whatever rate it was then, but it's not. It was a lesser rate than 1.670210.
don't have the billing statement in front of me.
Okay. Well, in any event, it was 8 therms times whatever the rate was at that time per therm.
That's correct.
And it came out to be $25.34. And the $167 bill, it didn't go from $25.34 to $167.24,
No, sir, there was a bill in between those two.
which was $61.17. And that is for the period from when?
From October the 17th, 2022 to November 16th, 2022.
And that was 26 therms, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's 18 therms more than the previous month.
Yes, sir.
So that would be the 1090 plus 8 therms times whatever the rate was at that point in time,
Correct.
plus, let's see, that's 8 minus 26, that's 18, right? Difference of 18 times that rate plus anything over 8 therms to 80 therms. It's a bigger number, correct?
It could be, yes.
Well, on this one, please.
Can I please give her a copy?
I'm struggling here on mine.
That's okay. Okay, so on the November 17th bill, which is October 17th through November 16th billing period, the first 8 therms has a cost of $1.733580. All right, the next 18 therms is $1.733580 plus 0.288590 for WNA, which is the Weather National Normalization Act.
And that's what I have.
Yep.
That's what I show here.
Mhm.
So the November, the bill that you would have gotten that would have been due in November for $25.34 was for September 16th through October 17th, and it was only 8 therms, which would be that 1090 plus 8 times 1.733580, which I think was 1387 or something like that. I think that was it. And that's what it was because it was based on 8 therms.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the next billing cycle went to 26 therms. And that would be the same process. It would be, let me get to that too. It would be the base charge, $10.90.
Yes, sir.
And the first 8 therms, the base first 8 therms, make sure I got the right billing period. This is 11/16/22 through December 17th, 2022. Am I looking at the right thing? Or have I jumped ahead? I've jumped ahead.
Yeah, that's 85 therms. Back up to the one previous to that. That's
Okay, the
26
10/17 through 11/16.
Correct, yes, sir.
Same thing. Base charge 1090. First 8 therms times 1.733580.
Correct.
And that is for the first 8. And there's 26 therms used, so it would be 26 minus 8, which is 18, correct?
Yes, sir.
So that next 18 therms would be multiplied by 1.73358 plus the 0.288590, correct?
Yes, sir, for the WNA. charges.
which is $38.40.
$36.40.
Yeah, 36.
Yes, sir.
Well, from here with my eyes. And if you add those up, the 1090, 1387, 3640, you get $61.17, correct?
Yes, sir.
Which is what she shows for December 2022 of $61.17. There were 18 more therms used from the previous billing period to that.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
All right, and if we go to the next month. Okay, same thing. This is for November 16th, 2022 to December 17th, 2022, correct?
Yes, sir.
Base charge the same, $10.90. The first 8 therms actually reduced, correct? That rate actually reduced, did it?
Yes, sir, it did.
So instead of being a bigger number, it is a lesser number. It is, instead of whatever we said before, 1.7 whatever, it is 1.651180.
Correct.
Times that first 8. In the next 80 therms, the charge for the next 80 therms, which it was, let's see, the therm difference was, what, 26 to 88 therms used for that period. That is 62 more therms than the previous month, correct?
I'll have to calculate that. Hold on. So 80 from 26.
Well, it's
That's
88.
56.
It's 88
Oh, 88.
minus 26. If I'm
Then that would be 62. Yes.
okay, so that would be $10.90 for the base charge.
Mm-hmm.
8 therms times 1.651180, which is less than the previous month.
Correct.
And the charge for next 80, that means up to 80 therms. So 88 minus 8 is 80, correct?
Yes.
So that's 80 therms times the lesser number than the previous month, which is 1.651180 plus 0.137980, which is the same number as the previous billing period, correct?
No, it is not.
Is it 0.88 versus the 0.98?
No, W&A is the 0.288590 from the previous month.
Okay, and this
and
is
the current month
0.13.
is 0.137980.
So it went up. I can't remember the amount. Oh, it went down too.
Yes.
That's right. So those two went down. So for that month, when the bill is calculated, it's $10.90 for the base facilities charge, same as previous month,
Correct.
previous billings, fixed cost basically. The base rate for the first 8 therms was $13.21, which is, I think, less than the previous month, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the month before that. But the next 80 therms, because 80 therms more were used, those numbers, the 1.65180 plus 0.137980 combined, are less than the previous bill numbers.
Yes, sir.
So that's came up to 143.13 for those 80 therms, and if you add the 1090 plus 13.21 for the 8 therms, and then the 143.13 for the 80 therms, you come up with 167.24, correct?
Yes, sir.
So what this is telling me is that the gas charge or rate was actually less than previous months.
Yes, sir.
But the usage was simply higher than September, October, and November, like that V curve or bell-shaped curve that was Commissioner Carol Lee Williams showed. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So nothing odd there. I wish we could compare what the bill was, and I don't know if we had that. I didn't see it. The previous, that too. Because I don't know how it compared then. But again, that number is because there's more gas used for whatever reason, temperature, cold, even though the rate was actually less in every respect. And when I look at the difference between December 17th, 2022 and February 15th, 2023 in therms, the total therms between December 17th, 2022 and February 15th, 2023 used during that period, the total therms, which was 190 therms. Is that correct?
You're talking about the billing period 12/17 to 1/16/22? That was 103 therms.
What it shows me on table 1 is I just got January 20th, 2023. It shows December 17th through January 16th and, February. January 20th, 23 and February 17th, 23, which is basically the period of December 17th, 2022 through February 15th, 2023. Those two billing periods, those two billing cycles.
Together.
On table 1. If you add those together, that's 190 therms.
Correct.
If you
Over
go to
two billing periods.
Correct. If you go to the previous, I think it was I don't know if it's table 2 or table 4 in yours. The previous year, January 2022, February 17, 2022, which was the same time period, December 17, 2021 through February 15, 2022, if you add those together, that's 183 therms. So in essence, and I don't know what the bill was, but just looking at the therms used, there was a total of 7 therms more during that period, that 2 month period, I guess, than the previous year. Is that correct, based on what I'm looking at on your tables?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So, not knowing what her bill was before, if the rates were the same or similar, would not the bills have been similar last year since the therms used are similar?
Well, it would depend on the cost of.
Exactly. Yeah. And since I don't know that, I just,
right.
All things equal, if it was the same rate as we figured then, would the bill be roughly the same?
It would be, yes, but then the consideration for the WNA, what may have been impacted this year might not have last year.
Right, but my only point being, since I don't know what the previous year bill was, all things equal, if the same conditions relative to rates and was it I want to say WBNA, but I know that's not the case. If those were the same during the same period the previous year, and there was 7 therms difference between those 2 months, would the bills generally be similar?
Yes, I would expect they would be, yes.
And that's all I'm saying. I mean, I'm just trying to make sure I understand.
Yes, sir.
Because we don't have those bills. So I say all that to say this. Going through the bills, if I understand it, and looking at the information, it appears to be just simply more usage. Because during that period that's in question, the rate actually came down. Is that correct? During the time from the $25.34 to $167.24.
Right. It could be both impacted. Obviously, an increase in usage, and then there could possibly have been an increase in the rate.
Right, but the bills we just went through was not that case.
Right. The last 2, it was down, yes.
Right. The
Cost-wise.
The cost was actually down. The billing, the rate part that's calculated. So, if a customer such as Ms. Kauser reached out to Dominion and had questions and didn't understand her bill and why this went out, does Dominion have customer service or folks that will explain it, work with them, and help them to understand the bill and how it works?
Yes, sir, we do. We have high bill specialists, and they will either contact the customer or talk to them while the customer calls in and go through and try to spend as much time as that customer needs to understand.
And if Ms. Kauser or anyone has a question or comes to you and say, can you help me figure out how to reduce my cost? Does Dominion do that? Will they do that?
Yes, sir. We do talk with the customers, and we do offer the home energy checkups as well.
And you will do that for Ms. Kauser if she asks?
We would have, yes. And she did, and we did the home energy checkup.
Well, if she asks going forward.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Then I have no more questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioners? Commissioner Carolee Williams?
Thank you, Chair Belser. That was illuminating. And I think the overall result from Commissioner Caston looking at some confidential elements of the bill that he was able to see is what we're seeing is that the billing rate has only changed due to one factor. And please stop me, anyone, if I misunderstood that. But I wanted to ask Ms. Hucks if she would explain what WMNA is, which is the Weather Normalization Adjustment.
Not act, right?
Because that, in listening to them, to that exchange, that was the one change in the bill. And I think it'd be good to have that on the record to understand, as well as for me to be reminded and Ms. Kauser to hear what the Weather Normalization Adjustment is, because it's intended to be helpful.
So my, what I know, the knowledge I have of that doesn't include calculations or anything like that. But, you know, we understand that to, again, this is, you know, from a high level, that it adjusts in the winter when it's warmer than normal. And that's when you will see them, there is a WNA amount added to customers' bills. And again, that's just, we don't get into calculations of it at all. We send those to another area.
Does it go up when the weather is warmer
Yeah,
Then-
in the winter months, yes.
Okay. It goes up when it's warmer than expected.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions.
Ms. Hux, similarly, the WNA, if it's colder than average, is there an adjustment?
There is, yes.
And which way is that?
That, it would be lower, and customers will generally, when it's enacted properly in terms of when it's needed, they will get a credit on their bill versus.
Okay, and do you know the purpose of the WNA?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any further questions? Mr. Gissendaner, any redirect?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Irvin,
thank you. You mentioned that the company has, what you call, I-bill analyst. How many of those do you have, if you know?
Those are home energy specialists. At any one time, depending on the time of the year, because we have many months that we don't have a lot of high bill discussions, but we could have up to 3 people that would handle those high bills. That's outside of if the contact center employees are not able to handle the call. If it escalates, then it comes to my team, and I have 3.
You only have 3 for close to 1 million households?
If it's escalated, our contact center handles the front end call. And if the contact center can't resolve it, then it goes to a high bill specialist that comes to my team.
Are you a Dominion Energy customer yourself?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Let me just ask you this, putting aside all the calculations that we went through just a few minutes ago, if your monthly bill increased from $25.34 to $184.23, would you be concerned about that?
No, sir,
Why?
because I have the knowledge as to changes in temperature, usage, and that sort of thing. So I would understand that.
Okay, and you would understand it, but do you think that someone like the claimant before us today should be expected to understand all the nuances of how bills are calculated and so forth and so on? Do you think the average ratepayer understands that?
I can't really speak for that. I don't know what our customer base thinks. I'm sorry, I don't have any idea.
Well, have you ever considered reaching out to your customer rate base and maybe having a forum or a question and answer with your ratepayers to find out exactly what their understanding might be?
Well, that's outside of the scope of my job responsibility, so I couldn't answer that for you.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Mr. Gissendaner, any redirect?
No redirect.
Thank you. Ms. Given?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will just note that the Office of Regulatory Staff filed a letter on April 18th, 2023, indicating that it would not be presenting witnesses during this proceeding. At this time, I would just move that letter into the record as the next hearing exhibit.
Do we need it as a hearing exhibit? Your statement's on the record.
Then no, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
If that was sufficient.
That's sufficient. Thank you,
Thank you.
ma'am. Ms. Cowser, do you have anything further?
I would just like to ask Dominion, since they are in this energy business, about my thermostats. If they know, would there be a problem if I turn off that one upstairs? How does that affect? I mean, I need to know whether I can just turn it off because there's nobody there. And
Okay. Ms. Cowser, you're free to talk with Mr. Gissendaner and Ms. Hux afterwards. I don't know if that needs to be on the hearing record, and maybe they can answer the question, but we can have that conversation after the hearing if that's okay with you.
that's fine.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
I just need to know.
Yes, ma'am, I understand that. With that, we will close this hearing, and Ms. Cowser, what happens is we will put this matter on an agenda for one of our future commission business meetings, and you will be notified of our decision, okay? As well as Dominion. Both of you will be notified in the same manner. And with that, we adjourn this hearing. Thank you very much.